What happens when a winter storm develops so rapidly that it changes everything we thought? This isn't just another winter storm. Computer models are showing wind speeds in rotation to keep at least one runway operational at all times. And now, as promised, at the 5-minute mark, here's the atmospheric indicator that helps predict these extreme patterns days before they develop. Professional meteorologists track something called the 500 millibar geopotential height pattern. I know that sounds technical, but here's what it means in practical terms. Imagine the atmosphere as a landscape of invisible hills and valleys about 18,000 feet above the ground. When computer models show deep valleys developing over the eastern United States and high ridges over the western states, it creates a pathway for Arctic air to flow south at incredible speeds, already reaching 65 miles per hour in the upper atmosphere above Canada. Right now, satellite data shows this exact pattern forming with remarkable clarity. The atmospheric setup is so textbook that meteorology students will likely study this event for years to come. When you see this pattern on weather maps 72 hours in advance, you can predict with high confidence that extreme weather will follow. The key is watching for what meteorologists call amplitude, how deep those atmospheric valleys extend southward. This week's pattern shows the jet stream dipping nearly 1,500 miles south of its normal December position. When displacement reaches that magnitude, it guarantees significant weather impacts. When those winds combine with surface systems, they create what meteorologists call. Understanding this pattern also explains why some regions experience such different conditions simultaneously. While the Midwest prepares for blizzard and Arctic cold, the West Coast is dealing with flooding rains and mountain snow. It's the same atmospheric pattern creating both extremes. Now let's examine what happens after the initial storm passes through. Wednesday morning, as snow tapers off across the Great Lakes region, the real challenge begins. Arctic air rushing in behind the storm will create a rapid freeze of any remaining slush on roads. This transition from snow to extreme cold happens so quickly that even well-maintained highways can become treacherous within hours. A rapidly developing cyclone. The question isn't whether this will impact you. Road maintenance crews understand this challenge. They're already pre-treating highways with calcium chloride instead of regular salt because salt loses effectiveness below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation has stockpiled 15,000 tons of specialized cold weather road treatment for this single event. But even with extensive preparation, some highway sections may need temporary closure when visibility drops below safety thresholds. State Patrol typically closes highways when visibility falls below a quarter mile for more than 1 hour during active snowfall. For homeowners and businesses, this weather pattern creates. The question is how prepared you are for what's coming next. Several practical challenges beyond just staying warm. Home heating systems that haven't been properly maintained may struggle when temperatures drop this low and stay there for multiple days. Natural gas utilities across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas have already issued conservation alerts starting Wednesday evening. They're requesting that customers lower thermostats to 65 degrees during peak demand periods between 6 and 9 a.m. and again from 5 to 8 p.m. through the weekend. This isn't just about managing cost, though heating bills will certainly increase during this period. Extended extreme cold can push. At the 5-minute mark, I'll reveal the simple atmospheric indicator. Regional energy systems beyond their designed capacity. The Midwest Independent System Operator, which manages electricity distribution across 15 states, has asked power generation facilities to delay any scheduled maintenance until this cold snap passes. Wind turbines, which provide increasing amounts of electricity in states like Iowa and Minnesota, automatically shut down when temperatures drop below -4 degrees Fahrenheit. This forces the grid to rely more heavily on natural gas and coal plants. exactly when natural gas demand for heating reaches its peak. For farmers and ranchers across the northern plains, this weather pattern that helps predict these extreme patterns days before they develop requires immediate protective measures for livestock. Cattle can handle cold temperatures surprisingly well if they have adequate nutrition and shelter from wind. But when wind chills drop below minus 20 degrees, even hardy beef cattle need wind breaks and 25% more feed to maintain body heat. Dairy operations face additional complications. Milk production typically drops 10 to 15% during extreme cold periods, as cows divert energy toward maintaining body temperature. This affects regional milk supplies and prices for weeks after the cold weather ends. And the most crucial timeline information comes at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Transportation systems across the affected region are implementing cold weather protocols that haven't been used this early in the winter season for several years. Railroad operations become significantly more challenging when temperatures stay below minus 10 degrees for extended periods. Steel rails contract in extreme cold, creating gaps that require continuous monitoring and adjustment. BNSF Railway has already reduced train speeds by 20% on routes through North Dakota and northern Minnesota to prevent equipment failures and derailments. Truck transportation faces its own cold weather challenges, when I'll show you exactly which cities will experience blizzard conditions first. Diesel fuel begins to gel when temperatures drop below minus 10 degrees, making engines difficult or impossible to start. Long-haul truckers are adding anti-gel additives and using engine block heaters, but these precautions add time and cost to every delivery route. Don't miss the next part where I'll explain exactly when this extreme pattern begins to moderate and what the long-range outlook suggests for the remainder of December and the holiday travel period. The human impact of this weather event extends beyond just transportation and energy challenges. Emergency management agencies across. Right now, the Pacific Northwest is receiving 7 inches of rain. The affected region have activated warming centers and are conducting wellness checks on vulnerable populations, particularly elderly residents who may need assistance during extended, extreme cold periods. Historical data shows that emergency room visits typically increase by 40% during extreme winter weather events. The most common injuries are slip and fall accidents on ice-covered surfaces, followed by carbon monoxide poisoning from improper use of heating equipment and heart attacks triggered by overexertion during snow removal. We knew about December weather patterns. Right now, that's exactly what's unfolding in just 24 hours. While that might seem unrelated to winter weather in the Midwest, medical professionals recommend several practical precautions during extreme cold periods. If you must go outside, dress in layers and cover all exposed skin. Frostbite can develop in under 10 minutes when wind chills reach minus 40 degrees. For those who must travel during this weather event, emergency preparedness becomes critical. Car emergency kits should include blankets, extra clothing, non-perishable food, water, a flashlight with extra batteries, and a portable phone charger. Keep your gas tank at least half full at all times. It's actually a critical piece of this developing pattern, as fuel lines can freeze in extreme cold. Now let's look at the broader atmospheric pattern and what it means for the weeks ahead. Computer models show this. Extreme jet stream configuration beginning to moderate by next Tuesday, December 17th. However, the transition period creates its own weather challenges. As the Arctic air mass begins to retreat northward, it will clash with moderating air moving up from the south, potentially creating additional storm systems. Long-range forecast models suggest another weather system. The same atmospheric forces creating those Pacific storms are about to redirect. Could develop around December 18th or 19th, but this one would follow a more southern track, potentially bringing snow. to the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic regions. For holiday travel planning, this means the current extreme. Weather will likely clear by December 20th, but travelers should monitor forecast closely as new systems could develop during the transition period. The good news for Christmas travel is that the overall pattern appears to settle into a more typical winter configuration by December 23rd, with temperatures closer. Arctic air from northern Canada directly into the Great Lakes region to seasonal averages. However, this early season extreme event often signals a more active winter pattern than we've experienced in recent years. When the jet stream shows this much variability in December, it typically continues to produce significant weather events through February and early March. For winter recreation enthusiasts, this pattern brings some positive developments. Ski resorts across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan are preparing to open more. Here's what most weather reports won't tell you about this setup. To rain earlier than they have in several years, thanks to this natural snowfall combined with cold temperatures that allow snowmaking operations to work at peak efficiency. Ice fishing conditions should be excellent by this weekend. Across the northern Great Lakes region, though, ice safety becomes even more critical when temperatures drop this rapidly. As we conclude this comprehensive analysis of the developing winter weather pattern, let me emphasize the jet stream, that invisible river of air 30,000 feet above us, is currently showing key preparation steps that will help you weather this event safely. The Alberta Clipper system arrives Tuesday morning, bringing 8 to 14 inches of snow and blizzard conditions to cities from Duluth to Green Bay. Arctic air follows immediately, creating wind chills of minus 25 to minus 45 degrees across the northern plains and Great Lakes regions. This extreme cold remains locked in place for 5 to 7 consecutive days, creating significant, what scientists call a negative tilt pattern. This means it's dipping far south. Challenges for transportation, energy systems, and daily activities. Most importantly, prepare now rather than waiting until conditions deteriorate. Check your heating system. Stock emergency supplies and avoid unnecessary travel during the peak impact period. Next week, I'll be providing detailed analysis of the Christmas holiday travel outlook, including a closer look at the potential storm system developing for December 18th through 20th. They could impact travel over the eastern United States while bulging far north over the western states across the eastern United States. Stay informed, stay prepared, and remember that weather like this reminds us of nature's power while also bringing communities together through shared preparation and mutual assistance. When this pattern locks into place, which is happening right now, it creates a direct highway for Canadian Arctic air masses. A massive weather system is organizing that will bring temperatures plunging. But there's a critical timing element that makes this particular event significant. Tuesday morning, an Alberta Clipper system will begin moving southeast from Canada at a speed of approximately 35 miles per hour. That's fast for a winter storm system. By Tuesday afternoon, this system will start dumping heavy snow across the northern plains of North Dakota and into central Minnesota. The National Weather Service has already positioned extra meteorologists in Duluth and Minneapolis to provide continuous updates as this system develops. Here's something that sets this storm apart from typical December systems. Ocean temperatures in the Pacific are running 3 degrees above normal, which is feeding extra moisture into the atmospheric pattern, to minus 30 degrees across the northern United States. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. That additional moisture will create snow-to-liquid ratios of 15 to 1 in some areas. Translation: every inch of liquid precipitation becomes 15 inches of snow. That's why accumulation forecasts are so high. But the real story isn't just the snow. It's what happens immediately afterward. Wednesday morning, as the snow ends, Arctic air will come rushing southward at speeds meteorologists rarely see outside of January and February. Temperatures will drop 40 degrees in less than 6 hours across Minnesota, Wisconsin, minus 45 degrees in some locations by Thursday morning. At those temperatures, exposed skin can freeze in under 10 minutes. The jet stream pattern driving this event hasn't been seen at this intensity. Now, you might wonder why this pattern is developing with such intensity so early in the winter season. The answer involves something called the Arctic. It essentially unlocks Arctic air that normally stays confined to the polar regions. This week, that index dropped to negative 2.8. The last time we saw a reading this low was February 2021, when Texas experienced its historic freeze that shut down the power grid. The difference this time is that the Arctic air is taking a more direct path into the traditional snowbelt regions that are better prepared for extreme cold. Let me walk you through the timeline step by step so you know exactly. Since the legendary winter of 1978, when that pattern develops, wind conditions will deteriorate in your specific area. Monday night, temperatures across the northern tier will drop rapidly as high pressure builds over western Canada. This sets the stage for the Arctic air mass that follows behind the Tuesday snowstorm. Tuesday at 6 a.m., light snow begins falling across North Dakota. By 10 a.m., snow intensity increases dramatically as the low-pressure center deepens rapidly over southern Minnesota. This is when travel becomes dangerous. And now, here's the critical information I promised at 3 minutes, 20 seconds. The cities that will experience true blizzard conditions, meaning sustained winds of 35 miles per hour or greater with heavy snow. It doesn't just bring cold weather. It transforms entire regions for weeks, for at least 3 consecutive hours. Duluth, Minnesota will see blizzard conditions beginning Tuesday at 2 p.m. and continuing through Wednesday at 6 a.m. That's 16 hours of continuous, whiteout conditions. Superior, Wisconsin will experience nearly identical timing. Grand Rapids, Minnesota, despite being somewhat protected by surrounding forest, will still see blizzard conditions from Tuesday evening through early Wednesday morning. Even Green Bay, Wisconsin, which typically sees more moderate conditions, is under a blizzard warning for Tuesday night. The Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul present an interesting situation. They'll receive heavy snow, potentially 8 to 12 inches, but wind speeds. Snow accumulations of 12 to 14 inches are forecast across Wisconsin and Minnesota, may stay just below blizzard criteria. However, visibility will still drop to near zero during the heaviest snow bands Tuesday afternoon. Interstate 35 from Minneapolis north to Duluth will likely become impassable for several hours Tuesday evening and overnight. The Minnesota Department of Transportation has pre-positioned 90 snowplows along just that 150-mile stretch of highway. Here's something many people don't realize about these Alberta Clipper systems. They often produce what meteorologists call snow bands, narrow corridors, of extremely heavy snow that can create dramatically different conditions between cities just 50 miles apart, with some areas possibly seeing even higher amounts. For example, Eau Claire, Wisconsin might receive 6 inches of snow, while Wausau, just 90 miles northeast, could see 14 inches from the same system. This variability makes travel planning particularly challenging during these events. Airlines are already taking proactive measures. Chicago O'Hare has canceled 200 flights scheduled for Tuesday, even though Chicago itself may only see light snow. The cancellations are due to flights originating from or connecting through Minneapolis and Milwaukee. Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport is implementing what they call continuous runway maintenance protocols. This means snow removal equipment will operate around the clock with different runway sections cleared.